Shalom, shalom. Yisrael, Yehonathan we with you here on the fourth day of Sukkot from my Sukkot right here in my backyard. And I want to talk about that. It's called Khag HaSookote. Khag HaSookote. Sukkah is a singular. This is a sukkah. And if your brother's next door, that's a Sukkot. Obviously, I'm the only one in the neighborhood doing this, but it is important. We're going to learn about that today. Leviticus 23, 34 to 36, speak to the children of Yisrael, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month will be Khag Sukkah. For 7 days to Yahweh. On the first day, there will be a Kodesh convocation. You will do no customary work on it. For 7 days, you will offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh on the 8th day. And you will have a Kodesh convocation, and you will offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a sacred assembly, and you will do no customary work on it. Okay, how is Sukkot different from, say, a tent or the tabernacle? A tent, this by itself could be called an ohel, all right? But it's not. This is a Sukkot because it's temporary, and I don't live in it all the time. Mishkan is what Moshe had built for the Ark of the Covenant. When they went through the desert, the Ark of the Covenant was in a Mishkan. Now, Shachan is what Solomon had built, and that's a permanent structure for Yahweh to dwell in for us to worship in. But a sukkah, that's a booth. Okay, that's what this is. It's a covert, it's a tabernacle, it's a den. It's a little cottage, a little covert. Luke 2:16. And they came with haste and found Miriam and Yusuf and the babe lying in a manger. The Greek word there is fatne. Okay, but the Hebrew equivalent is a sukkot. All right, this is a stall that Yahweh was laid in. Where do we get this word originally from? We get it from Jacob. Genesis 33:17, and Jacob journeyed to Sukkot, built himself a house, and made booths for his livestock. Therefore, the name of the place is called Sukkot. So he renamed that area Sukkot because he built little Sukkot for his livestock to feed on. This is what Yahweh slept in when he was the little baby. So he did it, then that means we can do it. It's a humbling environment to live in or to be in. A place where animals eat from, very humbling. And if the creator of the heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is humble enough to start from there, who are you to be proud? Exodus 19:5 and the first part of verse 6. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you will be a special treasure to me above all people, because all the earth is mine, and you will be to me a kingdom of priests and a Kodesh nation. So Yahweh says that we have to obey his voice, okay? It's not just we name it and claim it and get what we want. You obey his voice, and you got to keep his covenant. And the covenant is a blood covenant. Then he will make you special. And this is not like your liberals do today and your little comedians do today, and to make the word special a joke. And that's what Shaitan intends to do. He tries to make you a joke. Yahweh says you are special, then he says being special means you're crazy. Being special means you're a handicap. But that is not what special means. Special means exactly what it meant when I was young, when I was growing up. That means you are different than everyone else. You are cut above, you are high level, you run faster, you play your music instrument better, you jump higher, you hit the ball harder. You are unique and special above everyone else. It doesn't mean you're retarded. So, Yahweh says that all peoples are his. But he's going to have a special people cut out, set aside, to share to all his other peoples what he has to say from his mind and from his heart. So he has a special people that he wants to tell everyone else about himself. He cuts them out because he has something to say to everyone. He's not going to say it to everyone. He's going to say it to a particular people, and those particular people happen to be the worst one yet. So that means if he can do great things through them, the worst ones, then he can do great things to everyone else. And that alone should have you humble. I said this in atonement segment, that if nothing else, you ought to be humble because you realize that Yahweh chose you because you were the least of all peoples, the lowest of all peoples, the worst of all peoples. That's why he chose you. So you need to be humble for that reason alone. And realize that the lion is an enemy of the ox. The ox represents Yahweh. Genesis 11, 10 through 26. Now, so where did Yahweh start from? Now, the word in English, shame, is a bad thing. If someone says that your son did a shameful thing, you know that he did a bad thing, not a good thing. But in Ibarit, the word shame means renowned, famous. It means name. Now, in modern Mutbrew, they use the word shem, but that's not the pronunciation of the word. The pronunciation of the word, the accurate enunciation of the word is shame, and it's a good thing. It means renowned, famous. That's where Yahweh started from. He started from the son of Noach named Shem. Down the line, you go down, you get to Eber. And Eber means those who cross over. You're crossing over. We need to be crossing over from this world to the next. Down from the line from Eber came Peleg. Now remember, it was by so-called divine right of Yahweh for his mind, because he declares the end from the beginning, to divide and separate everyone, and then to bring them back. How? Through the same way he divided them, through words. In the time of Peleg, the world was divided. Down the line, you get to Terah. Now, Terah's very name means wanderer. Terah means wanderer. From Terah, you get Abram, who means father. You got a wandering father because this is not your permanent stake. I had to put permanent stakes on this Sukkot to keep it stable, but my permanent stake is not on this Eretz. So Abraham was identified in Genesis 14:13 as the Ibarit. He is the first one to be identified as a Hebrew. So, and his name was changed to Abraham. He is the father of, he's the high father of all nations. He said that he was a Toshab. So what is Toshab? Toshab is a dweller, but not an outlandish dweller. A Toshab is a larger, he's a temporary inmate. He's an alien, a foreigner. A Toshab is a sojourner. Are we sojourners? I have a nice house. It's a nice little structure. But where is our mind? Do we have a mindset of a Toshab? Do we have the mindset? Is our ultimate plans to just keep on increasing our storehouse, entrenching deep into the affairs of this world? Or are we Toshab? Like Abraham said in Genesis 23:4, he said, I am a Toshab and a visitor among you. Abraham, even though he had the covenanted promise from Yahweh himself, from the very word of Yahweh says, I'm going to establish a kingdom through you. Even with that, his heart knew, the heart of his mind knew that he was a temporary, and his seed was temporary on this earth. The covenant and promises was for a permanent kingdom after this earth. You and I should have a mindset of being Toshab. We are sojourners on this earth. Then we'll be a Segula. Segula is the Hebrew word for special. Yahweh makes us Segula when we have a mindset of being Toshab. And part of being a Segula is then we get our wealth. Then we are a special treasure. Special treasure comes in its proper time. We do not just in the beginning become wealthy. We have to go through the commandments of Yah, and then he makes us wealthy. Exodus 19:5. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you will be a segula. Obey his voice, keep his covenant. John 14:2. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. If I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself. Now, that word is shakanim. Mansions is shakanim. So if we need to first live in a sukkah and let Yahweh Shu will give us the shakanim. Remember, he was born in a sukkah, or he was laid in a sukkah when he was born. That was a temporary place for him to be. But even after he was grown and he began his ministry, he lived under an olive tree, an almond tree, on the Mount of Olives. Isn't that beautiful? Yahweh Shua himself lived under an almond tree on the Mount of Olives. But we want to beat our chest and name it and claim it. We want to be God Almighty and King on the earth. And that's not the order of things. See, our normal is backwards. Yahweh is not a genie. You don't blink your eyes and he pops up and gives you what you want. That's sinfulness. That's magic. Yahweh is real, and your redemption is real, and your promise is real. This covenant is real. Stay in your place and do things according to his way. We need to stop trying to bring Yahweh down to us and direct him as we see it. The Malachim were made perfect. Adam was made perfect. Yahweh did not make you or me. He did not make man perfect only to make him a pauper. He didn't make a king, a perfect king, just to break him down to be a pauper. No, our sin did that. Our sin made us paupers. So the order has to be rightened. We are to go from pauper, according to Yahweh's way. We will go from pauper to prince, outcast to top class, unknown to renowned, scattered to gathered, least to greatest, imperfect to perfect. That's Yahweh's way. See, Yahweh Shua started out as a servant. He washed the disciples' feet. He's going to come back as a conquering king. If he did it, then we ought to do it. We go from the mud. We do not go from the mud to being king instantly. Yahweh is real. He makes miracles. He calls things to be that are not. He does not do magic. So your redemption and your greatness starts in the Sukkah. It does not start in the Shakayim. Our example is King Dawid. King Dawid. He was a king. And in Psalm 42, he pants for Yahweh. His heart was for Yahweh. He says that he remembers these things. He poured out his soul within himself. Because I used to go with the multitude. I went with them to the bed of Elohim with a voice of joy and praise, with a multitude that I kept the pilgrim feast. With joy and praise. You keep it with joy and praise. But in this psalm, Dawid, who was a king, he said he was poor, lightly esteemed, needy, sorrowful. That's what he was. As a king, he said this. But you work at Social Security. You deliver mail. You drive a bus. You are a nurse. You're a teacher. And you can't be humble? When a king said he was needy, that he was lightly esteemed, you're supposed to be lightly esteemed. You're supposed to be not regarded. You're supposed to be an afterthought, if even you are a thought at all. Let Yahweh lift you up. He will make you renowned. He will make you shame. Not the English word for shame, but the Iberit word for shame, which means renown. In this little tent, in this gated neighborhood I live in now, I ain't nothing to them. They look at me like I'm crazy with this tent in my backyard, blowing shofar and playing the tambourines while they're blasting worldly music. Psalm 126. Now I'm going to read all of Psalm 126. When Yahweh brought back the this is a short psalm. When Yahweh brought back the captivity of Sion, we were like those who dream. Then our mouth was filled with laughter and our tongue with singing. Then they said among the nations, Yahweh has done great things for them. Yahweh has done great things for us, and we are glad. Bring back our captivity, O Yahweh, as the streams in the south. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. He who continually goes forth weeping, bearing seed for sowing, will doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. See, your preacher does not preach from Psalm 126. He doesn't know Psalm 126 exists. He tells you to name it and claim it, blab it and grab it. King Dawid says, we reap in tears, we sow in sorrow. That means if you're a tear from sorrow, there must be evil being done against you. You must be in a position of humility. That's where it starts from. You must be in a position of humility. We are going to reap bountiful, beautiful fruit in tears. Where are your tears? You're crying for a bigger house, for a better job, for a man, for a woman. You're crying for another car. You are tearing for things of this earth instead of being tearful for being in atonement, for being humble. You should have tears of humility, of sadness, and then Yahweh will grow that up into joy, into qadah, to receive his blessings. It's covenanted to do so. He will not leave you to be ashamed. I'm being shameful now and humbled. I will be lifted up by Yahweh. We are peculiar people. The language is peculiar. The language itself. They didn't understand Yahweh Shua because they didn't understand the language. He was speaking pure Ibarit. You know, if you speak pure English from, say, 1611, people wouldn't understand you either. But yet, it is the classic language of English. Yet, no one will understand you or have a difficulty. They can understand you, but they'll have difficulties understanding you if you went and spoke 1611 Elizabethan English. But Yahweh Shua spoke Lashon HaKodesh. He spoke the language of creation. And those who did not regard him couldn't understand it. He says that right in John 7:15 and John 8:43. And he read Luke 4:32. They were astonished at his teaching because his word was with authority. And I'm speaking this word in authority. My first book is Original Words, Original Truth, because that is how we have a greater understanding. That's why I understand more than those who taught me, because they do not go this route. I go the route of Yahweh Shua. I do not go the route of Mutbrew. The land is unique and special and set aside. There's nothing special about the dirt of Yisrael except by the history of its people. There's no great stores of ore, of diamonds, gold, silver, oil. The land is only special because Yahweh's eyes are on it, and because of the people who he planted there. That's the only reason why it's special. It's not special because it has better trees or dirt or coal or land or ore or iron than any other place, because it does not. It is special because of the covenant, because of the word, because of the law of Yahweh. Read Deuteronomy 11 and through 26. Remember, during this time, I suggest that you read all of the book of Deuteronomy. You got 7 days to do it. Should be no reason why you shouldn't read all of Deuteronomy. But in reading that, you see all the laws that we go by, the dietary laws, health laws, banking, welfare, how you treat the poor, the holy days, the judicial system. The whole world follows Deuteronomy 11 through 26, those chapters. The whole world follows it in their simple way. In this, you find out how you test false prophets. It talks about refuge cities, how to rectify damages and liability, the law of landmarks, the law of witnesses, rules, the rules of warfare, domestic regulations, how to raise your children, how to solve problem children, how to deal with your problem child, the laws of extended family, the laws of divorce, the laws of how about there's forensics in Deuteronomy about the adulterous wife, how to treat the foreigners, the sojourners, laws of cleanliness, vows and oaths, clemency laws, the laws of pardon, capital punishment, wills, testaments, everything right there in Deuteronomy, starting from chapter 11 all the way through chapter 26. And the whole world copies Yahweh's laws. There's rule. We have laws on. We're peculiar in terms of how we dress. How we dress. Our clothing is supposed to be all of one fabric. I'm not supposed to have mixed clothing on. I don't have mixed clothing on now. I have all cotton, or you're supposed to have all of one fabric. But we do mixed clothing. I don't have wear all pure one clothing, but we are supposed to have all one clothing, not mixed, because Yahweh doesn't believe in mixture, not mixing of peoples, of our clothing, of our animals, of our language, of our religion. So we are unique in that, wearing our seats. That is supposed to keep us from idolatry. We don't believe in nakedness. We don't we don't show our bodies as Hebrew Israelites. We are special. We do not show our bodies like the rest of the world. We have head coverings. So we're very unique people. Our hair, I don't even cut my hair. We're not supposed to even shave our beards. All these things. And we believe in monotheism. All the world was polytheistic until the so-called gospel message went out. So effective was the Besorah message, the gospel message, the Besorah message of Yahweh Shua. So effective was it by the original 120 souls that received Ruach HaKodesh from the upper room, that the entire world now follows it. To this day, the entire world seeks to be monotheistic. All the religions seek to be monotheistic in their practice. Though they practice in error, their thinking is to be monotheistic. Now, in our hearts, we know that we are supposed to have a transient way of living on this earth. And we do know that there's a judgment day coming. This is why Jonah made a Sukkot after he preached in Nineveh about their damnation, about the judgment from Yahweh. After that preaching, he went to the east side of the city, went onto a cliff, and he made a Sukkot so he can watch the judgment day. Now, we know judgment day didn't come, but we are supposed to have that same mindset today. On the 8th day, the last great day of this Sukkot, my heart should be looking for judgment day to come upon the peoples against Yahweh's people. But we know that right now it's not happening because we're not a nation. It can't happen. Yahweh Shua cannot come after this great day coming up because we're not a nation. But the point is, our mindset and our thinking have to be as such. It is a celebration time. On the 8th day, I will blow my shofar, and I will celebrate loudly in my little sukkah in this temple, and I will be looked at probably as a fool, so be it. But in that last great day, that real last one, they are going to be the fools. Yahweh will not make me to be ashamed. His word will go forth as he said it would be, and he will come. Deuteronomy 31:10-11, and Moshe commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, at the appointed time in the year of release, at the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel comes to appear before Yahweh, your mighty one, in the place which he chooses, you will read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Talking about Deuteronomy, I told you to read all that book. But you see how even in the time of Jubilee, the Feast of Tabernacles is tied to Jubilee, the releasing and freedom of all debts. This is a joyful time. Wouldn't you like to be free of all your debts? I would. I would love to be. You know how happy I would be right now if I had no debt? That's what this is all about. Tabernacle is and Yahweh ties the Feast of Tabernacles to the Jubilee cycle. Every 49 years, you have the Jubilee, and on the 50th year, on Tabernacles, is Freedom Day. Rejoicing. You're supposed to rejoice in your tent. There's going to be no more war. This is a time of Jubilee. You're not going to need your slaughter weapon. You ain't going to need your slaughter weapon. You're not going to need this. But for those who don't want to celebrate it, they'll be thrust through, and their land will receive no rain. No rain for those who don't keep the tabernacles. Let's go to that. Zechariah 14:16. And it will come to pass that everyone who is left of all the nations which come against Jerusalem will go up from year to year to worship the King, Yahweh Shabbaoth. Your book says Yahweh of hosts. Yahweh Shabbaoth, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. If they don't, they'll be thrust through, and no rain will be on their land. This is how important this feast is. This is not to be taken lightly. Celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Enjoy and be happy because you're free from all your debts, and Yahweh Yeshua comes and you are liberated, and this is a joyful time. Nehemiah 8:16-18. Then the people went out and brought them and made themselves booths, each one on the roof of his house. I'm in my backyard. I cannot put this on my house. Or in their courtyards, okay? So I'm in my courtyard, in the courts of the house of Elo, and in the open square of the water gate, and in the open square of the gate of Ephraim. So the whole assembly of those who had returned from the captivity made booths, and sat under the booths, because since the days of Yahushua, the son of Nun, until that day the children of Israel had not done so, and there was very great gladness. They met at the water gate. Yahushua is the living waters, and in the millennial kingdom, the living waters will come from the mercy seat. It'll be like an X, go to the four corners of the earth, the four corners of the flat earth. The living waters, anybody who drinks from that will have eternal life. Yahushua is the source of living waters. And also they met at the Ephraim gate. Why? Because we here in captivity are Ephraim. See how it all comes together? Ephraim are not the Yahudim, is all of us who are scattered. So that's why prophetically, Nehemiah and Ezra did what they did at the water gate, was represented Yahushua, whom they did not know at that time, and at the gate of Ephraim, because that represents all of Yahweh's people that he gathers back together. And this happened after Artaxerxes wrote the decree to let Yahweh's people go. Here we are now in exile. When we come together, we will come together under these conditions. Nehemiah is going to rebuild the wall. There will be a rebuilding of the third temple, because all of the 613 laws and commandments and judgments and statutes will be kept. There will be sacrifices again. And Ezra, he built up the words. He built up the Torah. He went back to original words, original truth. He retaught us the language. So we're going to learn the pure Yahudite language, Lashon HaKodesh. We're going to speak the original language. All the laws will be kept, all 613 laws. This is important because after Ezra and Nehemiah, Yahweh didn't say anything to man for 430 years. At that time, his son was born. And Yahweh Shua taught us the Torah. He was the walking Torah. Tehillim 51:17-19, the sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. These, O mighty one, you will not despise. Do well in your total pleasure to Zion. Build the walls of Jerusalem. Then you will be pleased with the sacrifice of righteousness, burnt offering, whole burnt offering. Then they will offer bulls on your altar. Dawid, who's a prophet, prophesied of this time that there will be a final temple built on this earth. The final one is going to come down from Hashemin. Yahweh Shua is building the final one. But there will be a third temple built, and there will be offerings built on it. And this is where the sacrifice will be. Sacrifices now are supposed to be a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. Atonement happens at this, before this time of the ingathering of us being made a nation. We're not going to be made a nation until we atone. Ephraim represents the whole house of Israel. We are the house of Israel. John 7:37-38. On the last day, that great day of the feast, Yahweh Shua stood and cried out, saying, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scripture has says, as the Torah says, out of his heart will flow living waters. We were not created with blood. We're supposed to have a heart of water. He is living waters. We drink from him and we dispel all this blood from us. You're not saved by the blood of the Lamb. You are forgiven by the blood of the Lamb. You are saved by the Mayim, by the water. Out from his side came blood and water. Yahweh Shua is the ruddy heifer. He cleanses us and he propitiates us, and we live eternally in him if we drink of the water. Forget all those Luciferian songs about the blood of the Lamb. Forget that. You will die in the blood because you have to receive eternal forgiveness. Yahweh Shua is not going to have you live forever covering you up, because the blood covers sin. The water cleanses it and gives us propitiation. Revelations 21, 1 through 3. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, because the first heaven and first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea. Then I, Yachanan, saw the Kodesh city, New Jerusalem, came down out of heaven from Yahweh, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from Hashemayim saying, Look, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men, and he will live with them, and they will be his people. Yahweh himself will be with them, and he will be their mighty one. Yahweh has always planned, it was always in his heart and his mind to dwell amongst us. The temple, the tabernacle will be with us. See how important the tabernacles are? See how important it is? Yahweh will tabernacle with us. This has always been his plan from the beginning, to Sukkot with us. And right now, we are supposed to Sukkot with him. We are his tabernacle. He's supposed to dwell inside of us. Sukkot symbolizes Yahweh's restoration of his kingdom to the earth in the Messianic age. The model prayer is, Yahweh, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Do we just say it because we remember it in Sunday school? Or do we think about the words we say out of our mouths? Your will be done on Eretz as it is in Hashemayim. Yahweh has no enemies in Hashemayim. Everyone is doing what he says to do. His enemies are here on earth. It's only on Eretz that there is disobedience. There's no disobedience in heaven. But he says his will is going to be done on Eretz, which means he's going to impose that will, and those who do not keep the tabernacles will be thrust through, and they will have no water on their land. Yeah, everyone will speak Lashon HaKodesh. He's going to force the language. It's going to be taught to them. Everybody's going to speak the proper language. The kingdom of priests and kings are going to teach it. So you must learn it. And not Mutbrew, but Ibarit. And everyone's going to keep the tabernacles on all the feast days. Leviticus 23:40. And you will take for yourselves on the first day of the fruit of the beautiful trees, branches of palm trees, the boughs of leafy trees, and willows on the brook, and you will rejoice before Yahweh your mighty one for 7 days. This is a rejoiceful time. And I was thinking, I do have some leaves out here in my yard, or in the watery areas out in this woods out here, that I can use for celebrating. Yahweh willing, that's what I'll be doing next year. John 7:37 through 39, read it before, but I'm going to reiterate it again. On the last day, that great day of the feast, Yahweh Shua stood and cried out, saying, If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the Torah has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living waters. But this he spoke concerning Ruach HaKodesh, from those believing in him would receive, because Ruach HaKodesh was not yet given, because Yahweh Shua was not yet honored. So that lets you know that obviously those who say they're Yehuda are not Yehuda, because they have gathered it into the Kodesh land, but these things has not happened. Ruach HaKodesh has not poured out his spirit on all the earth. We're not all speaking one language. We still have our sons and our brothers and our fathers' blood being spilled down the street. We still have wicked leadership. We still have wicked governments. We are still doing our own thing. We're still living after our own ways. So obviously, Yahweh Shua has not gathered the people together. Because when he gathers the people together, he will heal them. And he is the water, and the water is what we'll drink from for healing. That's not happened yet. So obviously, those who gathered there together are not the chosen seed. John 8:12, then Yahweh spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me will not walk in darkness, but have the life of light. Now remember, this scripture, John 7:37 and John 8, comes at Sukkot. It comes, and this one about the proclamation of him being the living waters is on the last great day. So obviously, Christians have it wrong again when it says that we are not to keep all these laws. Yahweh Shua must not have gotten the memo, because he kept the feast days. They are still binding, just as the Sabbath is binding, and just as all his laws are binding. You keep them as you can. Right now, we are rehearsing, but we will get it right in that millennial kingdom. Psalm 118, his seed endures olam. Trust in Yahweh. This, I'm going to, right now, I want to make this a two-part series because I want to go into this deeper of how Sukkot was kept traditionally during the time of Yahweh. And I don't want to do that now. I don't want to rush that now. Obviously, next week, Sukkot will be over, but I still want to do that. I'll do it from my office, Yahweh willing, and we will talk about how Sukkot was kept traditionally in the land of Yisrael during the time of Yahweh Shua. But until next week, Yehonathan Dawid with you here, Yahweh for Christian at gmail.com. Happy Sukkot. Now I want to show you, though, before I finish, the outside of the Sukkot. There's the humble home, and there's the Sukkot. Next week I'll try to get some boughs and leaves from out here, and I should be able to do it. From my humble Sukkot, Shalom, Shalom, Yisrael.